Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Strauss. I'm the manager of the Network Schools program here at the University of New South Wales. Thank you for joining us for this Google Hangout this evening to talk about our new computational design degree from the Faculty of Built Environment. With us this evening, straight away, I would like to introduce our three panelists so that you can get to know them and that you can ask any questions that you have of them as well throughout the evening. We do have a few questions that we'll chat through first, and then we'll go to your questions. So if you would like to submit a question, please go ahead and add that question to the Q&A that you'll see on the right-hand side, I believe, of your Google Hangout window. And please just type those questions in, and you can vote them up and down if you'd like, and we'll answer those questions as quickly as we can. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Hank Haeusler, Dr. Hank Haeusler from the Faculty of Built Environment. Hank, can you say hi?
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you for coming and joining us for the session tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, Hank. I would now like to introduce Monica McNamara, who is the manager of the Student Center for the Faculty of Built Environment. Monica, hi.
Hi, everyone. Look forward to having a chat and providing lots of good information to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Monica. And also we have Bridie Marr, who is a sessional academic in the Faculty of Built Environment as well. Bridie, would you like to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So, again, if you have any questions, please feel free to type those into the Q&A app at any time this evening, and we'll get to those questions as soon as we can. So, Hank, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind. We're here to obviously talk about UNSW Australia Built Environment's new Bachelor of Computational Design. What's involved in the new degree? What is it that students will be learning as part of this degree?
Computational design is a new direction in architecture that have emerged in the last 5 to 10 years. The difference to traditional architecture is that architecture in relationship to the computer in the past really used the computer to produce a preconceived form. So you had a sketch, you had a design idea, and you model that with a physical model, for example, and then you use the computer to really produce that kind of form and had a computational kind of drawing. With computational design, we're going to use the computer to conceive form from the beginning. So more or less we're going to define what kind of parameters and what kind of rules exist in architecture and use those kind of parameters and rules to then have an outcome that potentially is not really completely clear at the beginning, but we define the things at the beginning as a kind of rule. So it's a new way of thinking that really takes the most out of a computer.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. So we used to offer a degree here at the university called Architectural Computing. Can you tell me a little bit about what the differences are between architectural computing and the new computational design degree?
Sure. Architecture computing used techniques that have been developed and been current in the early kind of 2000s. So like any other kind of thing you're going to have, like your iPhone or your smartphone, you need an update every kind of few years, because every few years new things come out that really kind of prominent and are quite important for your software or for your iPhone. And obviously the same happened to the degree as well, that we looked into the last kind of 1.5 years, what kind of new things have happened in industry, how does the architecture and construction industry design and build their things, and revisited the existing degree and augmented it with, or upgraded it with a new kind of knowledge on digital fabrication, computing technology, sensor technology, so really kind of current things that you would study items and topics that are relevant for you in the next kind of few years, so to maximize your job opportunities.
Okay, so you've probably covered this already in the first two questions, but can you tell us a little bit why we decided as a university to establish the new computational design degree?
The university has decided to do so because really had the need or the feeling that so many things in technology have changed dramatically over the last kind of few years, and to really update and be kind of a current degree, we thought it's the right time now to relook at the degree and restructure the degree with new kind of things.
Excellent. So I'm actually going to switch now over to Spencer O'Connor, who has submitted a question, which is, what jobs would you be looking to do after completing this degree at the university? So Hank, I'll hand that to you as well. Do you have any ideas of what kind of jobs people would be looking at doing?
Yes. Hi, Spencer. Welcome. Good evening. I believe we've met each other already a few weeks ago on the Faculty of Built Environment. So great that you've been online again. The jobs you would be looking into are really architecture kind of jobs amongst others. I had several kind of meetings with very kind of architecture firms to really express a strong kind of need in the skills they're going to offer you. So to give you an example, the Northwest Rail Link is designed and developed at the moment by an architecture firm called Haeusler. Haeusler is one of the biggest architecture kind of firms in Australia and one of the key players worldwide. They've been desperately looking for people who have the skills we will offer and we will teach you further Northwest Rail Link to design and develop their kind of whatever ideas and their kind of concepts using computers. Other kind of job opportunities obviously would be in the construction industry, in governments, in a town hall, for example, working for the city of Sydney on new strategies, how to develop new city kind of concepts, but also to a gaming environment where in film or in the kind of a gaming industry, you could work and have certain kind of skills there, or we teach you certain kind of skills that would enable you to find a job there.
Excellent. Bridie, I'm going to turn to you now for your first question as well. So, Bridie, can you tell us what it's like to just generally study within the Faculty of Built Environment, and then potentially specifically within the computational design degree? Things like what's the class size like? What kind of project would you be working on? Who are the other students you're working with? Anything like that. What do you have to share about that?
Okay, well, I can absolutely share on that one because I'm a graduate of the faculty myself. So I have been a student and now I'm a teacher in the Faculty of Built Environment. So the way that we work is that essentially our main core subject is studio-based. The class size is about 18 to 20 per tutorial group, where you're given a design brief that you need to respond to. We either work individually or in teams. Specifically in the computational design course, those briefs can be applied in the computer lab, but also in our digital fabrication lab, where you can take those skills and those developments and then create. So I have some examples here of some work that has been produced in our digital fabrication lab by students that have been working individually, in this case, on one of our project briefs, where a design has been created and scripted, then taken into the laser cutter, and each of these is sheet material that's been cut up and then formed into this model that you can see here. So they're very dynamic, engaged environments where you're expected to use the skills that you're taught and then respond. Excellent.
Thank you very much for that. I'm going to turn now to Monica, and Hank, you might want to chime in on this as well, but Monica, can you give me an idea of how many kind of study hours would be involved in this particular degree, and is it possible to work and study at the same time with this degree?
Yeah, it's face-to-face contact hours are probably, I would say, between 12 and 16 hours a week. Obviously, on top of that, students are expected to spend at least, Hank, you can probably assist on this, at least 1.5 times more than that on preparation for those hours. It's certainly possible for students to work part-time. In fact, many of our students do work part-time, but it's the trick is to get the balance between work and study, because obviously we're expecting students to really be serious about their studies and that be their primary focus.
Excellent. Hank, do you have anything to add on that in terms of the project work that you might do outside of the actual content?
Let me share my screen and go to our Instagram kind of page. So you've been able now to see our Instagram page. So on the Instagram kind of page, UNSW CoDe, you can see various kind of projects students worked with me together over the last kind of few weeks. So we had, for example, projects where students been engaged into a digital fabrication kind of setup here in the in the Powerhouse Museum. So what you can see at the bottom are designs students have done. I think other kind of things are, for example, that exhibition here. So that's a student kind of project where students work together with me on an installation, again in the Powerhouse Museum. Another kind of thing is the bus stop we designed as well with the help of students, which is exhibited kind of currently at the Customs House Museum. And it's a picture from last week, kind of Friday. So we really bring students quite closely into projects, and I think a day in the life of the students would really involve not only just kind of classroom environment, but really developing and building one-to-one prototypes with us in order to just expose you to real-life constraints. So you've really been able and learn and understand and study what kind of things is necessary to know in building stuff. So if you want to see more, we've got those kind of things on our Instagram kind of page, UNSW Code, or you can follow us on Twitter as well.
Excellent, thank you, Hank. Bridie, I'm going to turn back to you again and say, so what is a typical day like as a student?
Okay, typically as a student, you'd arrive on campus, you would attend a lecture, possibly for roughly an hour. That would then follow on to a tutorial session, whether that's in the computer labs or the studio space or the digital fabrication. You'd probably be likely to have 2 subjects possibly on a day where you'd be working with your groups on your projects. We have a digital fabrication lab is in our faculty building, as well as on campus. There is a plethora of opportunities. We've got the library, there's cafes, we've got Wi-Fi all over the campus. We have to see students working, discussing, talking about their projects, whilst you know, socializing, having coffee. You know, it's this really integrated approach to a typical day on campus. If it's a project day, I think it's very interesting. You know, it's arriving, you know, on time and presenting, setting up your work on studio, and standing up in front of your fellow classmates and presenting your ideas. And so it's a very dynamic environment for students on campus, and generally, we've got 7 programs in the faculty, so there's a lot happening, a lot of interaction. You see the work coming through with all the other undergraduate students, and there's a real social aspect you're going to be spending a lot of time on working very hard on your design project, so there's a huge social aspect to the friends that you create. I still have friends that I generated in first year, which, you know, you'll have those for life. So it's a real shift in your life when you come to the built environment. It's when everything starts to change and open up for you.
Cool, thank you, Bridie. I'm going to shift over to Monica now and say, how exactly do we apply to study the Bachelor of Computational Design here at UNSW?
Okay, Jonathan. Well, local applicants apply through the university's admission centre. And international applicants apply directly to the university. One thing that we've introduced for 2015 is an alternative admissions scheme for local students. What that means is potential students have the opportunity to submit a portfolio that will be considered along with their academic performance, usually ATAR. And that's a recognition sometimes that the ATAR isn't always the only thing that is useful in assessing students, particularly for creative design programs. So for Built Environment for 2015, all of our design programs are using the alternative admissions scheme, and that provides opportunities for students to really work on a portfolio and submit that portfolio to the faculty.
Excellent. I want to come back to that portfolio thing for a moment, because I want to delve into a little bit more about what's included, what you should be looking at doing, and others may have thoughts on that as well. Do you know what the ATAR is going to be for the computational design degree?
Obviously, because computational design is a new program, we don't have a history of an ATAR. We're anticipating it will be similar to what the old architectural computing program was. So for 2014, architectural computing, the ATAR cutoff was 80. So that's a sort of a ballpark number that we're looking at. But of course, it's really unknown at this stage. Okay,
so about an 80 ATAR, somewhere around there. With that in mind, so 80 for some people might be a little bit of a freak out moment of, oh, will I get it? Are there ways that you can increase or you can raise that cutoff? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, like
bonus points, something like that.
Yes, that's right. Yes, for computational design, we do assign bonus points. For 2015, we're assigning bonus points for good performance at HSC in design and technology, information processes and technology, mathematics, software design and development, and visual arts. So there's a number of subjects that we've selected that if students perform well in, they'll get either 3, 2, or 1 bonus points for that.
And that's the great thing about those HSE Plus bonus points is that they're automatic, and there's nothing.
That's right. You haven't got to apply for HSE Plus bonus points. They'll automatically be calculated through your UAC application.
Exactly, and if people want to find out more about those HSE Plus bonus points, I would recommend that they go to the university's HSE Plus bonus points, or just Google UNSW HSE Plus bonus points, and you can find out more there and see all of those subjects that Monica just mentioned, and see what bonus points and what band scores apply for all of those. It is a maximum of 5 bonus points that you can apply through HSE Plus, but it can make a big difference in terms of the degrees that you can get an offer from. What about elite athletes and performers bonus points? Are those
yes, they're applicable to applicants applying for computational design.
Okay.
And Jonathan, you probably know this more than I, but I think overall it's a maximum of 10 bonus points across all the bonus point categories.
It is, yeah, definitely. Between the elite athletes and performers, HSE Plus, and then also the Access bonus point scheme, it is a maximum of 10. But again, even just 1 or 2 can make a really big difference.
It's enough to get students over the line, that's right.
Absolutely. Let's go back to that portfolio submission thing again as an option. So you might consider doing a portfolio even if you were going to have an ATAR. If you thought you might have an ATAR of around 85, would you suggest that you still submit a portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of information on our website about alternative admissions. Our general advice is that if you look at last year's ATAR cutoff, and obviously for computational design there isn't one, so we're suggesting they look at architectural computing, which is 80. So if potential students think that they're possibly not going to get 80 or, but might be within 10 points of that, then it's worthwhile putting a portfolio in, because it just might be, if you submit a good portfolio, then the weight given to that portfolio might end up with you getting an offer into the program that you mightn't otherwise get if you just submitted an application based on your academic record. Now, if you're a very confident person and you think that you're going to get an ATAR of 90, then probably you mightn't put a portfolio in, but it's open to anyone, but it is optional. If you choose not to submit a portfolio, then you'll just be assessed on your academic record.
Excellent, thank you. That's a really good point. I think definitely submitting a portfolio if you think you might fall within that range. It can't hurt, right? It can't hurt.
It can't hurt. And a lot of potential students may already have a portfolio that they're using anyway, so it's not necessarily a great effort to submit a portfolio. So I should just mention that it's not just the portfolio, there's also a covering letter, and that covering letter is really important because it's what will be read by the staff assessing the portfolio, and it's where you get to demonstrate your interest and your passion for design as well as your portfolio. So the two are looked at together. I should also point out with alternative admissions, the submission of the portfolio is not the end of the process. If your portfolio is regarded as a good portfolio, you will then be selected for an interview. And then it's actually the people selected for interviews who will be considered for a place under alternative entry.
Okay, excellent. Again, I'd like to speak to our audience now and say that if you have any questions for any of our speakers this evening, please do submit those questions via the Q&A section on the Google Hangout, or just on the right-hand side, I believe. And speaking of which, we do have another question from Abraham, who is watching at the moment. Abraham's question is, what will the assumed knowledge or prerequisites for the course be? So Monica, that might be a good question for you again.
Yeah, I can answer that question. We actually don't have any assumed knowledge or recommended subjects. Obviously, the subjects that we've identified as being bonus pointed under HSE Plus, we think that students that do those subjects, it is helpful, and the fact is we bonus point them, so we think they're useful. But students who don't do those subjects shouldn't feel as though that they're going to be disadvantaged in any great way. We have students coming into all of our programs who've done a range of HSE subjects, and not necessarily the ones that we've indicated we've bonus pointed, and many of them do well. So there is no real assumed knowledge into this program. Hank might wish to have a word on that as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think for us the most important thing, or the biggest issue we want to have with students is a passion for architecture and design and computing. And that's the reason for the portfolio. I think a mark in a school doesn't really reflect very well what your passion really is for architecture and design and then for computational design. But a portfolio might do so. So you really can show in your kind of portfolio things that demonstrate your creativity. And that could go from, I don't know, when I was a teenager, I designed skateboard T-shirts. It's a creative kind of outlet. Or other kind of things. So it doesn't really have to do anything with architecture per se. We don't really expect you that you've designed a house already. But anything that reflects your creativity in a traditional and in a digital kind of sense is helpful. And bring that kind of passion on board. I think what we're really looking into is passionate kind of students who want to do design, who've got an urgent desire to do so. And Bridie and myself are both sort of really in love with design, and each morning jump into the pleasure of designing again and again because we've got a passion. And I think that's the important kind of part. Not so much the marks, what kind of courses you've done before.
Yeah.
So Hank, I'm going to stick with you, and I might actually follow this up with Bridie as well. But Hank, what is the most exciting thing about this degree for you?
Oh, the most exciting part for me is I think that we just work on very kind of real problems in the built environment. What we've done, and I'm quickly going to share again my screen, if I may.
Please do.
Yeah, so you see that kind of proposed structure for the program, and we've got 7 main kind of areas we want to work and teach in, and all of those kind of areas have a very kind of strong reflection to a practice kind of background. So in the light blue kind of section, we construct things. So we're really going to work together with construction and architecture kind of firms to build and construct one-to-one prototypes, like the one in Customs House, for example, or in the Powers Museum. We contextualize them in the yellow kind of bubble, where we're going to say, well, those kind of things, everything we want to do has to reflect back how we live in our cities, how we want to live in our cities in the future, what kind of cities in the future could be. And then lastly, in the pink, red kind of bubble, calibrate them to the kind of needs of the users of the built environment in sustainable kind of aspects, in cultural, social kind of aspects. And I think that's really the exciting kind of part for me, that we will have the possibility to design and develop things in a real kind of environment, a real kind of setting with real clients, with real kind of firms that want to work together with us.
Excellent. Bridie, do you have anything to add there? What's exciting? I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, but is there anything really that excites you about this degree?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited by the change that's happening in the design and architecture industry at the moment, and the shift to parametric design, where scripting allows the controls of design to be shifted, and the way that the students are going to be taught to conceptualize with these skills. It's not necessarily the skills that the tools that come along, because they will change as you go through your design professions, but it's how you're going to use those skills and the conceptual thinking that goes with that, and how that's going to change our built environment.
Excellent.
Can I add something to that as well? And I think what we want to do with the students is we don't want to force upon a direction on you. We really give you the choice to choose what you want to do in your career later. So on the diagram, the triangle diagram you can see here, is you will have in the first 3 semesters a foundation level that enable you to understand all the things that are necessary in the degree. Then in the 4th and the 5th kind of semester, you slowly can start specializing yourself in an area you choose. And then finally in the 3rd or 6th semester and in the honors degree, you really get a chance to work very specific on one particular kind of area out of those kind of 7 kind of bubbles I showed before, to then later go to an employer and say, I'm really skilled, I really got a kind of talent and the education in that particular kind of field, therefore hire me in that. So I think it's quite different from a school where you have to study all kind of things. You can't really choose so much. With us, we're going to give you a foundation, and based on the foundation, each individual kind of student can choose their own kind of directions and follow their kind of passion in a degree.
Excellent. Shifting gears a little bit, I'm going to go back to you, Monica, for some of the nitty-gritty details on how do we actually apply. So if you're a domestic student, when do applications open to submit an application via the university's admission center?
Okay. Applications are actually open now. They opened on the 6th of August. So you submit an application through UAC, through the University's Admission Centre. The on-time deadline is the 30th of September. You can continue to submit applications up until the 6th of December, but you end up being charged late processing fees. So my advice is to submit the application by the 30th of September. Something I should make very clear, if you are thinking of submitting an application also through the alternative admissions process, you need to have also submitted a UAC application. The portfolio will only be considered if you've submitted a UAC application. And in fact, when you go to the BE website to submit your portfolio, one of the bits of information it will ask you for is your UAC application number. So that's just an important point to make.
Okay, excellent. And so applications close on the 30th of September, well, the on-time deadline. When will offers be made?
The main round offers will be made on the 21st of January, and that's when our offers will be made. And if you're selected on the basis of the alternative entry process, you will only find out through the main round offers.
Okay.
You don't hear any earlier.
And can I ask about that as well? So if you were doing the alternative admission scheme, what would be, when would you maybe sit that interview that you were talking about before?
Sorry, Jonathan, I missed that.
When would you be sitting the interview if you were applying?
First of all, with the alternative entry, you need to submit your portfolio. That process opens on the 25th of August and closes on the 14th of November. So you need to submit your portfolio online to the faculty. There's lots of detailed information on our website about that. So you've got that time frame, 25th of August to the 14th of November. If you're selected for an interview, you'll be advised by the 1st of December, and then interviews will be held in the week beginning December 8. Okay. So the interviews will be held before Christmas. So you need to make sure that you're going to be available for an interview if you've applied through this process.
And just then backing up again, so international students, if they're applying
at this stage, the alternative entry admission scheme is not available to international students. It is something that we will be looking at down the track, but for 2015, international students will just apply normally, either through UAC International if they're doing an Australian HSC, or directly to the university, and they'll be assessed just on academic grounds.
And so the timelines for international students to apply via, for whatever, is it just pretty much as applications are open now, or do they need to get them in earlier? Or
I think they're open now, but I would just advise international applicants to check UAC International.
Excellent, wonderful. So now, and I might turn to Hank or Bridie for this, and Monica, maybe you would want to chime in as well. What is it that is going to make a really, really strong portfolio? Hank, you've talked about this a little bit already, that what makes a strong portfolio, but just go through that just a little bit again.
Sure, yeah. I think a strong portfolio will show two kind of things. On the one hand, showing your passion for designing things, and that could be, as I said before, from projects you've done in school, photos or image collections you've done by photographing architecture, for example, that we can see you've got a trained design eye or an eye for design. It could be objects you build by yourself. So, for example, I had last January a student coming and he showed me some stuff he designed for his bicycle to optimize his kind of bicycle and design those kind of things and build them by themselves. That's kind of an example you could bring into a portfolio. But as well using certain kind of things with a computer. So, for example, maybe your school has a kind of a maker bot and you 3D print something with a maker bot. That's a thing what students have done, or things like that, and you just include them in your portfolio. So you've got that kind of digital fabrication aspect already. If that doesn't really exist in your school, maybe other kind of drawings with things you've done with Photoshop or with SketchUp would be suitable. So it really could be kind of a range of things. I think there's no kind of right or wrong. We just want to see again, your passion, that you have a design kind of capacity. And we've been aware that you haven't really studied architecture and design yet, and you haven't really studied computational design. So we don't really measure you on the level we would measure a graduate, of course. But we can quite easily see, when we see some kind of stuff, there's a potential there, and you have what it needs to be in our degree.
Excellent, thank you. Now the question that everyone loves to talk about at the moment, which is how much is this degree going to cost? Who wants to take that one? Not all at once, please. Don't jump and shout. Monica?
Well, I guess I might start because I'm not sure Brady and Hank are going to. Look, as most people are aware, I'm sure, the fees for local students are a little bit unknown at the moment because of the proposed federal government funding changes. I can tell you at the moment what domestic students are paying for 2014. So, for example, a student in architectural computing this year, if they're a full-time student, they're paying about $8,800 per year. Okay. International students would be paying about $30,000 a year. But with the proposed changes, which, if passed, will take effect in 2016, it's really a case of wait and see. The university will be obviously communicating that as soon as those changes are known.
And there is a statement on the university website about fees at the moment, just to indicate that we're really waiting for legislation to pass the Senate, potentially, and that will affect everything. So if you want to see more about that statement, definitely check out the fees website or the
Don Fees website.
Yeah. Yep. Next question is, what about HECS? So are these HECS eligible? So Monica, can you tell us a little bit what is HECS, and then are these places available for HECS?
Okay. Well, the term HECS has sort of been replaced by the term Commonwealth Supported Places, and yes, they are for local students. And when I say local students, what I'm talking about are Australian citizens, permanent residents, New Zealand citizens. You're eligible for a Commonwealth supported place. All places given to local students in this program, in fact all of our undergrad programs, are Commonwealth supported. Essentially it means that the federal government's contributing to your tuition fees, so you're only paying a contribution to that fee. And you can also defer paying that until you finish your degree and you're working, and then you pay back your fee liability through the taxation system.
Excellent, perfect. What about scholarships? Are there any scholarships that are specifically available for this degree or more broadly within the built environment?
There are no specific scholarships available for this degree at this stage, but I mean, I'm sure Hank would agree. The faculty is always looking to boost its range of scholarships, and with this new degree, obviously that would be something we'd be looking to develop. But as it stands now, there is no specific scholarship available. In terms of other scholarships within the faculty, there's probably nothing that would apply to computational design. So I would just encourage prospective students to look at the more generic UNSW scholarships to see whether there's something there that they could apply for.
And I think that's a good point, Monica. There's $9.1 million of undergraduate scholarships available for high school leaving students every year, and you really have to be in it to win it. So if you don't submit an application, there's no chance you can get a scholarship. And there are a lot of those scholarships that are that broad-based, doesn't require that you're studying in any particular area. You just need to submit an application. And you don't need to be Einstein to get a scholarship either. You can be a generally bright, well-rounded person, and that's what they're often looking for in those scholarships applications. So if you're looking for more scholarships information, just Google UNSW scholarships or visit the scholarships website, and it's just like online shopping, pretty straightforward process in terms of how to go about applying for scholarships. What about deferring a place in this degree? So what if I want to go on a gap year next year, and should I apply now and defer, or should I wait and apply later? What's the best thing?
Our advice to anyone, and this applies I guess to most UNSW programs, certainly all the BE programs, our advice would be to apply now. If you get an offer and then you decide to take a gap year, that's fine. You can defer, and you've kept your place in the program, so that's perfectly fine. Excellent.
Hank or Monica, I have this question for you as well. What if I want to go into doing a master's degree in architecture? Is this a degree, the computational design degree, is it a degree I could use as a pathway to a Master of Architecture, or is it just not really the right thing?
I might take the first chance at that question. It's not a direct pathway. Graduates of at this point in time, graduates of computational design will not be able to enter directly the Master of Architecture. Having said that, though, the Master of Architecture in itself is going through a curriculum review process, And one of the things they are looking at are the admission requirements. So in the future, that might change, and graduates of computational design might be able to go to the Master of Architecture, but it's not something we can say currently is possible.
Okay.
I think we'll have information on that in August next year when the whole kind of review process is over.
Okay, so August of next year, 2015, sorry, there should be some more information about that.
Yeah, so I guess if for students commencing this program next year, given the review that the Master of Architecture program are going through, it may well be, but by the time they finish, it might be possible, but it's just too early to say at this point.
Okay. What if you don't have the ATAR? So this is for local students or onshore international students. What if I don't have the ATAR to get into our computational design? Is there anything else I should look at doing, or a pathway that I might consider?
Yeah, our advice to students who don't get the ATAR for their preferred program is really to look at any other university degree that they do get an offer into, and particularly if it's a degree that they think they'll do reasonably well in, because once you've done a year of another degree within UNSW, you can apply for an internal transfer into your preferred program. So that's a possibility. But even if you decide to take up an offer at another university, again, if you have a good year, you can apply through UAC again for the following year, and your tertiary record, as well as your ATAR, will get taken into account. So it means that if your ATAR maybe wasn't that great, but you have a good year at university, then you're giving yourself a boost in terms of being considered for the program.
My next question is, and we're running out of questions, so if anybody else wants to ask any other questions and you're watching, please do feel free to add those in. My one question here is about exchange. So I know that UNSW is really, really keen to encourage students to go on exchange because it's a great opportunity for students, and also it actually makes you more employable as well. Is there, or are there opportunities to go on exchange with the computational design degree or within the built environment faculty more generally?
Certainly. Hank?
Quickly, definitely there is. I'm working at the moment on establishing further relationship with existing kind of partners in Europe, in Asia, and America. So we will have in Europe, in London, in Germany, in Holland, partner universities in Asia, in China, and in Singapore, partner universities in Hong Kong. That would be, or in New York and LA, partner universities where we want to work very kind of close together and establishing kind of partnerships so students will go there. So one of the existing students at the moment will go next semester for 1 semester to the University of Hong Kong and study there. And I strongly encourage students to do so. I've by myself been educated in Germany, in Japan, and in Holland, and in Australia. So I think the experience to go somewhere is fabulous, and so we definitely help and support you as much as we can to have that 1 semester abroad and study in our partner universities. Excellent.
Does anybody have anything else to add about anything I've missed or that you think is really important for prospective students to know about computational design or the faculty?
I think one thing I want to add at the beginning with the kind of the fees and the investment you obviously want to have to make to study at a university. We know that the investment is quite high, and you obviously want to look for a job as soon as you've been finished and having kind of a good kind of job. So what we want to do in the last kind of year, and I'm going to go back to our specialization kind of journey in the 6 semesters on the proficiency kind of level, is that we work very kind of close together with companies that provide a graduation kind of project for you. So at the moment we've got 2 students working for Cox. Cox is a bigger kind of architecture firm here in Sydney, working on stadium design. So they've built, for example, in Adelaide, the cricket kind of ground and other kind of stadiums in Melbourne. And they've been quite interested in designing stadiums using computational design. So they have offered 2 internships, so to speak, or 2 kind of graduation kind of projects where the student would work on the projects in the kind of company and been embedded in the kind of company. So we try to expand that to other kind of firms as well. So your graduation kind of project really could work as an entrance halfway to a kind of a company where you've got half a year time to work in the kind of company, show how clever you are and what kind of skills you're going to have, and then potentially have a job opportunity not through an application like anybody else, but really through a backdoor that enables you to get into the kind of company through your kind of project. So I think that's a great kind of way to find later a job, and our students have the highest employment rates from all kind of universities in Sydney. So there's really a huge chance to, after you study, to go into a job and be in demand.
And I should mention there as well that the university is really focused on students being able to get jobs once they've graduated from the university. So we do have a careers and employment office here whose only job is to help you get a job as a current student once you've graduated, or even for 18 months after you graduate as well. And we do have the highest, second highest in the country employment rate within 3 months of graduating. So about 87% of our students have a job within 3 months of graduating from the university, and we're really proud of that statistic. And we invest a lot in helping to make sure that students do get those jobs after they graduate from university as well. Abraham has written in with another question here, which is quoting a little bit of a part from our website, which is saying that computational design links architecture and design with engineering and science. Hank or Bridie, can you give us a little idea of what that connection is between those two things?
Maybe I can start. I think what the link really is, if you think about any kind of a building, you obviously have an engineer that would structure and calculate kind of structure the building, or you have materials in the kind of building that just be not only bricks and mortar, but maybe more intelligent or smart materials. So what we try to do is really bringing various kind of aspects together. I think in any kind of contemporary building design, particularly in larger kind of projects like a train station or an airport or a high-rise kind of building, you've got several kind of stakeholders from various kind of disciplines, so from architecture, from finance, from engineering, from science. And what we try in the degree is bringing all those kind of disciplines together and enable a conversation about the project through a computer. Without doubt, any kind of process we're going to do nowadays in an industry, in a work environment, is driven and steered by a computer. So therefore, they're kind of linking the nexus between architecture design on the one side and engineering and science on the other side will happen nowadays through an understanding how those conversations could be fostered with a computer. So it's really a transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary approach in our design that we don't really see ourselves in a silo. We really want to work with very kind of disciplines together, because that's something you have to do later in a real world, in an office as well.
Mm. Excellent. So if I have more questions and I am too shy to ask them over in the Q&A, where should I go to get more information? Where can I go? Monica, I'll look to you. Is there a resource available on campus for that?
To the Built Environment Student Centre. We're the first protocol, and I think our contact details are going to be listed. Possibly.
Yes, they will be as soon as I share my screen and get that sorted. You will be able to see that.
I'm happy to give
I
it
believe that should be up on the screen now.
That's us. Yeah.
Perfect.
So any prospective students, any questions, please send them to the Student Centre. Sometimes we might be calling on Bridie and Hank to answer the questions, but contact us first, and we'll be able to help.
Excellent. What about Open Day? Are we going to have anything up and available on Open Day for prospective students to find out more about computational design, or again any of the other degrees that we offer in Built Environment?
On Open Day there'll be talks about all of our undergrad programs, and Hank, I'm guessing, might be talking about computational design. There'll also be tours of our facilities, including the fabrication lab. And also, I just might mention on Open Day, when Hank was talking earlier about what makes a good portfolio, there's actually going to be a special lecture on Open Day given by the head of our interior architecture program, actually, about what makes a good portfolio. So I think it's a useful event to attend for anyone who's interested.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And with Open Day, one other thing is I would recommend that everyone plans their day before they arrive on the day, so that you don't miss that really great lecture from Hank or that really great lecture on portfolio development. You don't want to arrive on campus and not have and miss it by half an hour. So you can do that all via the Open Day website. Again, just Google UNSW Open Day and you'll definitely be taken to that website. So with that, I think that wraps up our Hangout this evening. Do any of you have anything else that I've missed or that you want to say?
I would say we look forward to see you all coming to UNSW and work together with you guys.
Excellent.
I think on a social kind of aspects, we the lecturers are very kind of excited to work with you, to study or help you to find your career and define your kind of career. I think we are a very kind of young group, a very kind of social kind of group, and I think the social kind of aspect in our degree is very kind of high as well. As Bridie can confirm, whatever your time at the university is really kind of a new kind of step in your life where you find many friends through your degree that just become friends for your lifetime, and we definitely support that you've got a lot of kind of social kind of aspects in the degree by working together, by studying together, by doing social and study-related kind of activity together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bridie, I'm just going to ask a question because Dominic has just written in with a question as well, and because of course I said we're done, that's a lie. Bridie, Dominic has asked, what kind of software or programs would you be using on a regular basis within the degree?
Within the degree, well, there's a plethora of software and programs that you'd be using. Anything from Adobe Suite, we use that for presentation. We've got processing programs. We've got CryEngine. Rhino 3D, Maya. So the degree takes you on a program journey, a software journey, that you develop those skills as you go through, and you move up right into Grasshopper, and you build on those skills, and they become more advanced as you move through the degree.
Let me quickly share again my screen because I love the sharing screen. So here you can see how the program outline looks like in each kind of semester. And yeah, we've got really, we understand that software and computer programs might be, or definitely are, like learning a new kind of language, and we can't really learn a new language like Italian or German in just one semester. So we're really going to guide you in a step-by-step kind of thing where we're going to teach you over the first kind of 2 years those kind of software kind of skills, so you've been proficient in those kind of software and in other kind of design skills in the last kind of year when you graduate.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Hank. Thank you all of you, Monica, Bridie, Hank. It has been excellent, and thank you all for watching online as well. If you have any other additional questions, please don't hesitate to contact the Built Environment Student Center, whether that's via email or by phone. We're happy to answer those questions, and we do definitely hope to see you on Open Day on the 6th of September. Thank you all very much, and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. See ya.
Bye.